South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has once again stirred controversy on the international stage. This time, he co-authored an article attacking U.S. President Donald Trump and Israel, while seemingly ignoring the atrocities committed by Hamas. But is there more to this story? Is the ANC's foreign policy really about principle, or is there something far more sinister at play? Today, we expose the uncomfortable truths behind Ramaphosa's stance and the deeper connections that the mainstream media won't tell you about. In a recently published op-ed in Foreign Policy, Ramaphosa, along with Colombian President Gustavo Petro and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, launched a scathing attack on Israel's military operations in Gaza. The article accused Israel of systematic violations of international law, and went so far as to label Trump's proposed Gaza policies as ethnic cleansing. But while the piece was filled with strong words against Israel and the West, there was one glaring omission: any condemnation of Hamas. Let's not forget what sparked this war. Hamas terrorists launched a brutal attack on Israel, massacring civilians, kidnapping innocent people, and using human shields to maximize destruction. These are not freedom fighters, they are murderers. Yet Ramaphosa and his co-authors conveniently ignored these facts. There was no criticism of Hamas, no mention of their terrorist activities, no acknowledgement of the suffering of Israeli civilians. Instead, the focus was entirely on vilifying Israel. Why? The answer might lie in South Africa's deepening ties with Hamas. The ANC government has refused to classify Hamas as a terrorist organization, despite overwhelming evidence and international consensus. In fact, Hamas has a physical presence in South Africa, with reports confirming an office in Cape Town. That's right, a group responsible for the murder of innocent civilians has a base of operations on South African soil. At the same time, South Africa moved to close the Israeli embassy, severing diplomatic ties with one of the world's most advanced democracies. The message is loud and clear: South Africa has chosen sides. But here's where things get even more suspicious. For years, the ANC has been struggling financially. The party has failed to pay salaries, defaulted on debts, and even left workers unpaid for months. Companies that printed ANC posters went unpaid, and the organization was on the verge of total collapse. And yet, suddenly, their financial troubles vanished. So where did the money come from? There's growing speculation that external forces, potentially Iran, have stepped in to bail out the ANC, securing their loyalty in return. If this is true, it would explain the ANC's unwavering support for Hamas and its increasing hostility toward Western nations. Iran, a well-documented supporter of Hamas, has long sought to expand its influence in Africa. If the ANC has accepted financial aid from Iran or its allies, it would mean that South Africa's foreign policy is no longer dictated by national interest, but by the demands of radical anti-Western forces. This would also explain the ANC's treatment of its own citizens: higher taxes, increased authoritarian control, and a blatant disregard for the people's suffering. Dictators support dictators, and if the ANC is aligning itself with terrorist-sponsoring nations, then what does that mean for the future of South Africa? South Africans are waking up to the reality of the ANC's betrayal. While they claim to fight for justice, they are busy making deals with the very regimes that oppress their own people. The ANC talks about human rights yet supports a terrorist organization that slaughters civilians. They condemn Western policies yet accept financial assistance from nations that trample on basic freedoms. So what's the truth? Ramaphosa and the ANC have taken a clear stand, not for peace, not for democracy, but in alignment with those who support terror and tyranny. The recent op-ed, the closing of the Israeli embassy, the warm embrace of Hamas, these are not the actions of a government fighting for justice. These are the actions of a government that has been bought and paid for. And if South Africans don't wake up, they will find themselves ruled not by leaders who serve their people, but by those who serve foreign masters. Now, it's up to you. What do you think about Ramaphosa's actions? Is the ANC's support for Hamas just ideological? Or is there something more sinister happening behind closed doors? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and share this video to spread the truth. The future of South Africa depends on awareness, and it starts right here. What do you say? My favorite quote from the man himself: my fellow South Africans. If I have to hear that one more time,